and greetings wherever you are. Um, Hello to the folks I can see on Zoom. Hello to the folks I cannot see on Facebook and YouTube. I'm happy you are here. Today we're going to continue our waltz through the 10 Paramis with the 9th Parami, loving kindness. You could say that that's all I teach in these sessions. Loving kindness and self-compassion. If you were to sum up everything that I'm trying to point to, that would be it. Especially in meditation practice, especially if you're new, which to me means you've been doing it less than 5 years. There's a Tai Chi teacher I know about in China who will take you into his class, but he won't talk to you at all until you've been there for 4 years. And he still considers you a beginner. And I've been doing this since 91. And I'm still a beginner. And the reason why I'm linking mindfulness meditation and metta, loving kindness, is it's really easy to get frustrated or hard on ourselves or distracted by feelings we're not doing it right when the meditation doesn't look like what we think it should look like. The only thing that I think it should look like is I want to continue sitting here and I don't want to fall over. And that is good enough. And my mind is going to wander around and do its thing. It's just the way it goes. And I subscribe to a thing called the Daily Dharma from Tricycle. It drops little Dharma nuggets in my mailbox every day. And today said, most of our suffering comes from habitual thinking. If we try to stop it out of aversion to thinking, we can't. We just go on and on. So the important thing is not to get rid of thought, but to understand it. So whatever your experience is in meditation is good and appropriate. If your mind is jumpy and active and wandering around in thought a lot, that's fine. Do the best you can to be aware of it. And do so with some kindness and some gentleness. And if you get really quiet and settled and peaceful and your head starts to get really, really quiet and settled and sweet, that's really good. Don't get attached to it. Because like everything else, it comes and goes. So we start metta practice with ourselves by directing loving kindness to ourselves. And whatever your experience is in these minutes that we're meditating, when you notice it, notice whether or not you're meeting it with attachment or aversion. And in whatever way feels right for you, just reaffirm being kind and gentle with yourself when you come back to your breathing. So, just find a meditation posture in which you are comfortable, alert, not rigid, able to pay attention, where you can relax your body without like slumping over. If you're sitting up, you might want to rock back and forth a little bit, just until your body finds a center, and side to side. If you tuck in your chin ever so slightly without tensing the muscles in your neck and shoulder, that straightens your spine. And let's begin with a few slow, deep breaths. Just to settle into our bodies. And as you breathe out, just settle into wherever you're sitting, standing, or lying down. On the exhale, just let your body relax and settle. Just settling into your seat, settling into your body, settling into the moment. On the exhale, just continue to relax and soften. However much you can, in whatever way works for you. And let your breathing return to normal. And just notice what it feels like to be in your body in this moment. The simplicity of just sitting here. And see if you can, ever so gently, be aware of your body from the inside out. Be aware of your body from your body, if that makes sense, rather than from the control tower of your head. We're not attaching to whatever experience we're having in the moment, and we're not averse to it either. Not for, not against. Just meeting our experience of the moment with kindness. As you come into your body, bring your attention, your awareness to the sensations of the body breathing. Gently, kindly, let your attention rest on the sensations of the body breathing in and out. Noticing the sensations of your chest, your belly expanding when you breathe in. Sensations of the air moving in and out of your nose. If you can, noticing the sensations of your back rib cage expanding on the in-breath. Don't try too hard. Just if you notice, you notice. And let your attention continue to rest on the sensations of the body breathing. When you notice that you're thinking, bow to that, just to notice it, without getting caught up in the subject matter of whatever you're thinking. Just notice that your mind is doing that. And gently, with kindness, bring your attention back to your awareness of the body breathing. And as we come towards the end of this sitting, let's do some metta practice to direct loving kindness to ourselves. So in your mind, repeat, may I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be at ease and at peace. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be at ease and at peace. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be at ease and at peace. And may it be that the benefits of this practice help us to look upon ourselves and those around us with kindness, to view the world through kind eyes. To meet those who are suffering with kindness. And when we find it hard to do that, to meet ourselves with self-compassion. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. thank you for your kind attention and for your practice. So we're continuing our dance through the 10 Paramis. Often referred to as the 10 perfections of the heart. And they are generosity, ethics, renunciation, insight, energy, patience, truthfulness, resolve, loving kindness, and equanimity. And today we're on number 8, Metta, loving kindness. And Metta shows up in lots of different places in the Dharma. It's a key element, a key teaching. It's known as one of the 4 qualities of boundless compassion. I like that, boundless compassion. It's part of the Brahma Viharas, the 4 awakenings of the heart. And essentially it means practicing, emphasis on practicing, loving kindness. And I say emphasis on practicing because we go in and out of this, like all states. And part of metta practice on an ongoing basis and mindfulness practice is noticing when we're in that space and when we're not. Sometimes I'm very kind and loving. Sometimes not so much. Anybody who lives with me will tell you that. And the truth is, the heart is not always open. And we can't force it open. We can't make it open. But we can let it open by holding a gentle space. Which is why we start metta practice by offering loving kindness to ourselves. And there's a formal practice which I'll go over at the end of this talk. But we always start with offering loving kindness to ourselves. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be at ease and at peace. And there are people I know who do that part of the practice, loving kindness directed towards themselves, for days at a time before moving on to any other parts of it. Because we can train ourselves in such a way that it kind of radiates. And we live in a culture where we tend to be hard on ourselves, which makes it all that much more important as a practice. Which brings me to one of my favorite stories. I like to tell stories. Some of you may have noticed that. I was having a conversation with somebody who I'm enjoying getting to know these days about the difficulties of remembering to be kind to ourselves. And I recall the story of the Dalai Lama. When he first came to America, he was doing a lecture tour. And I wasn't really sure about this story and who was involved until I saw Sharon Salzberg at a conference. It turns out that it was her. And she was in Southern California, and Sharon asked His Holiness the Dalai Lama, how come you never talk about self-esteem? And he didn't know what she was talking about. So she explained it, and it made him cry. Because it had never occurred to him that people would feel bad about themselves. It's a totally cultural phenomenon. I think it begins with the kinds of contradictions that we're raised with. Things like, be yourself, but behave. All the ways that, parents benignly tell their children to be spontaneous and creative, but don't do anything I don't approve of. I'm not advocating against boundaries and limits for children. That's a whole other conversation, and it's important. Boundaries help children feel held and loved, even though they push against them. But the idea that people do not feel good about themselves was completely astonishing to the Dalai Lama. And you think about where he had been. He lost his country. He lived in exile. He was forced to march across India, across to the mountains of Tibet to get to India. And it still didn't occur to him that there was a reason to feel bad about himself. We here in this culture would be beating ourselves up a lot along the way. It's a cultural thing. I think sociologist Max Weber wrote about it in his book, The Protestant Work Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. The idea that we have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's never enough. So, if it's a cultural phenomenon, that means it's optional. We can change our attitude anytime. Which brings me to my favorite story about the Buddha. One of my favorite stories about the Buddha. I guess I'm in storytelling mode today. The Buddha, just before he was the Buddha, like immediately before he was the Buddha, knew that the time had come for his awakening, and he was meditating under the Bodhi tree in what is now Bodh Gaya, India. And he was right on the verge of awakening. And Mara, designated as the god of illusion in the Buddhist scripture, appeared before him and wanted to stop the awakening. And Mara is basically our shadow selves, all of our doubts, all of that stuff that we don't want to look at. And tried to stop the awakening by throwing every doubt, every self-doubt, every fear that Buddha had at him to try to stop the awakening. And in the end, when he had run out of gas, he screamed, "What makes you think you are someone who can awaken?" Self-doubt. And Buddha reached down and touched the ground as if to say, "Just because I'm here." And he was awakened in that moment. And he opened his eyes and he looked right at Mara and said, and all the illusions and all the doubts just sort of like cleared away. And he said, "I see you, Mara. Let's have tea." I love that story because what happened was the awakening was when Buddha looked right at his doubts and all of his stuff and met it with kindness, with a welcoming kindness. Let's have tea. And Buddha continued to be visited by Mara throughout the rest of his teaching life. The monks would see Mara skulking around in the woods or at the edge of the crowd while Buddha was teaching, and they would always get freaked out about it. And Buddha met Mara the same way every time. He would just smile and say, "I see you, Mara. Let's have tea." So part of the essence of loving kindness practice, metta practice towards ourselves, is recognizing our own stuff, our doubts, our fears, our feelings of inadequacy, all that, and saying, oh, I see you, Mara. I was lucky enough to have an interview. People who know me know I'm a total groupie for Dharma teachers. Ajahn Sundra, who is the abbey of the Cambridge, England monastery, came to where I was living, and I went to see her. And she's the one who taught me to say, I see you, Mara. Because we struggle. Life's a struggle. We struggle in our relationships. We struggle with math. We struggle with stuff. We wonder if we're okay. And can look right at it and say, oh, I see you, Mara. And know that we're okay. The word metta is directly related to the word Metta in Pali, the language from which most of the Dharma and the Theravada tradition has been translated, which means friend. So it suggests meeting ourselves with friendliness, with what has often been translated into boundless friendliness towards oneself and towards others. That may be hard for some people, especially the folks who annoy us or have hurt us. So maybe the word goodwill is easier. We don't have to engage with people who we find difficult, but we can wish them well. That's metta practice. And we can have goodwill towards difficult people, and that doesn't mean we have to invite them to lunch. But we can wish for that person to have a good life, to be happy, and perhaps recognize that the way they are behaving, the way they are acting is a reflection of their own unhappiness, and wish for them to be relieved of that. Now, someone suggested one time when I was talking about this that starting with metta practice directed towards ourselves is a little self-centered. Such a Western culture way to look at it. But it's not really. There's a mutuality to it. The more we free ourselves from our own doubts and our own difficulties accepting ourselves, the more we benefit others, which in turn benefits us, so it gets kind of circular. Compassion without self-compassion is incomplete. So, being able to truly love and care for ourselves is the foundation of being able to care for others. And the more we bring loving kindness to ourselves, the more we bring it into the world and into our relationships. Here's another story. A woman, in the story she's about 80, comes to see Carl Jung, one of my heroes, by the way. If you're a 12-stepper, it was Carl Jung who first suggested to Roland Hazard that what he called a spiritual phenomenon was the solution to addiction. So he's the godfather of us all. A woman comes to see Jung and she says, everybody is mean to me. And he looks at her and he says, why are you so mean to everybody? I love that story. And it kind of awakens her a little bit. And she starts working on just being nicer to people, and she realizes that is starting to come back to her. Another story, I guess I'm just in that mode today. There's a group of monks at a monastery way up in the hills somewhere in Europe. There's just 5 of these guys left, and they're kind of a bunch of cranky old men. Right? And they realize that the order is dying. that when the 5 of them are gone, it's gone. And they're pondering what to do about that. And one of them says, you know, there's an old Hasidic mystic who meditates alone in a cave up in the hills. Why don't one of us go up there and see him and ask him what to do? So Brother Simon says, I will do it. He's in the best shape of all of them. He treks 2 days up into the mountains and finds the old Hasidic, who is very kind and welcoming, and he tells him the story of the order and the monks in the monastery, and the old man listens kindly and attentively, and in the end says, I can't help you. I don't know how to help you. And Simon's kind of crestfallen, but he bows and thanks him. And as he's walking out, the old Hasidic says, but one of you may be the Messiah. Simon is completely confused by that. But he takes that down the mountain to the monastery. And they're all waiting for him, and he said he couldn't help us. But then he said something really weird. He said, one of us may be the Messiah. They didn't know what to make of that. So they're all going back around their business in the coming days. And Brother Joel is working in the kitchen, and he's thinking about one of us may be the Messiah. What if it's David? Maybe I should start being nicer to him. So he starts being nicer to David. And David is thinking, what if it's Simon? I've been pretty mean to Simon. Maybe I should start treating him like he might be the Messiah. And he starts being nicer and kinder. And this kindness and compassion starts to pervade the culture of the 5 monks. And someone comes up from the village one day to bring a food offering to the monastery, and notices this, that there's this kindness and compassionate, loving kindness atmosphere that's now pervading the monks, and he feels really attracted to that. And he goes back and tells the other villagers about it. And little by little, and then in increasing numbers, they start coming to the monastery to experience this loving kindness that is pervading in the monks. And one of the villagers really likes it a lot, enough that he joins the order, takes on robes, takes the vows, and ends up taking a vow of loving kindness and recognizing that one of us may be the Messiah. And as time goes by, the order starts to grow. Again, on the basis of loving kindness. One of us may be the Messiah. So it's magnetic, it's attractive, it attracts people to us and helps us relate to people. And when we fall short, as we inevitably will, it's important to remember the words of my friend and mentor, Jeannie DePro, who said, and so I remind myself as often as I must, which is very often. These are practices. We have to keep practicing. So, in the last few minutes, I'd like to conclude with a little metta practice, a little double dip on the meditation. We're going to first do metta practice for ourselves, and then we're going to expand the circle to whoever is closest to us, and then we're going to expand the circle to our friends, or a friend that we can name, and then we're going to expand the circle to people we have difficulty with. And as I said about that, we don't have to invite them over for dinner. I'm just practicing wishing them well. So, let's find a meditation posture again. And gently close your eyes. And repeat, may I be happy. be well. May I be safe. May I be at ease and at peace. And bring to mind the person closest to you, a benefactor, a loved one. And repeat, may you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be at ease and at peace. And bring to mind an individual or a circle of friends who you know, and saying, may you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be at ease and at peace. And broaden the circle to people you feel neutral about. The cashier at the supermarket. The person you see walking down the street. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be at ease and at peace. And let's broaden the circle to somebody we find difficult. And it's important when we do this part of the practice not to start with the most difficult person in our entire lives. Somebody annoying. Somebody we have a hard time with. We start by lifting 10 pounds. We don't start by bench pressing 350. It's like that. Somebody we have difficulty with. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be at ease and at peace. And as you continue this practice down the road, if you choose to do so, you may eventually want to bring that to more difficult people. And in the end of metta practice, we say, may all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your kind attention this morning. And I invite you to remember, Lord, you may be the Messiah. See you next week.